Good morning, happy Friday, Tim Wild's Friday Ascension update. It's such a beautiful, gorgeous, sunny, warm morning in the south of England. It'd be very, very easy to completely forget that we are in the middle of the most turbulent planetary change. And so, yeah, wherever you are in the world, just take a deep breath. Breathe in through your nose, breathe into your heart center, engage with yourself at a fifth dimensional frequency and breathe out. And just take a moment, okay? That moment, that stillness is something which is very useful to engage with the current realities that we are being presented with. And I say the word realities as in a plural rather than a singular, simply because of the multitude of different vibrational spaces that we can engage with simultaneously. And this is what I would like to look at today. Pausing, taking stock, grounding, sending energy, intention, and therefore manifestation, focus to where it is actually needed. Now, the energy or the ascension vibrations, or the energies that are coming in from the cosmos, are off the charts. Okay, it's almost got to the stage now where there's so much of it coming in simultaneously from so many different sources. To identify it individually is pointless because it has now become a collective energy. But I do know that we are experiencing sun flares, this kind of just accumulation of cosmic forces that are boiling the pot of the collective realities here on Earth. Now, one thing that's become very prominent to me, and one thing that's kind of reoccurring, it's now become the theme of what I believe is going to be really big in August during the Lionsgate, is the subject of contracts. Now, contracts flow through our lives in all aspects of everything that we do. I'm not so much talking about spiritual contracts this morning, i.e. the contract that you have with your partner, with your families, with people that you're working with on the Ascension pathway, or it just might be in your everyday life. I'm talking about the energy contracts with which you are engaging with your reality. Now, you've heard me talking about spiritual contracts before, where, say for example, you meet somebody that you've worked with in previous lifetimes, say Atlantis, it could be ancient Egypt, it could be Greece. And in this lifetime, you are contracted to either clear what you had, how things were left off, or you're contracted to work together to bring in a much higher frequency. It's part of the Ascension pathway that we've covered I've covered frequently before, and lots of other people are looking at it as well. What I'm speaking about more specifically today is the energy contracting that we go through or we undertake on a daily basis, simply by being here on Earth. Okay, now both sides, and I'm picking my words very carefully this morning because the energy's being quite specific. Both sides are ramping up their presentations. Say you're watching, you're sat here, okay, you're sat here listening to this, but there's two versions of this that you're listening to. There's a 3D version and there's a 5D version, and both of them are telling you very, very different stories. Okay, one might be fear-laden. It's attempting to grab your attention and draw you into something that will alter your patterns of consciousness and behavior by installing and activating a fear-based reaction. And the other version of it is basically inviting you to listen with your heart, raise your frequency, raise your vibration, step away from the fear, the coercion and the control. And that is very much what we have got on our TV screens at the moment. Two very loud, very and you know, demanding in their own rights versions of reality. And what we're being presented with at the moment, and this is what is going to be very important during August. This is what I'm going to be focusing on individually and in the cooperations that I'm doing, is that contract with 3D, that contract with the previous reality that many of us have chosen to break, basically, or not break. The contract is up. Okay, now for those of us on the Ascension pathway who are stepping into our sovereignty, we're stepping into our power, we have already agreed on a soul level to ascend from that vibration and take everything that we can with us. So individually, this is an incredibly powerful movement of energy. Okay, right back, I can remember doing the Archangel series with David back in the early part of this year, and one of the quotes from, I believe it was Archangel Jophiel, that sticks with me so much, is he was saying at the time, I think it was around the time of, it was when our time flow went from BC to AD, around the time of Christ, that there were only 4 points of light in their own mighty I am presence existing on this planet at the time. 4 points of light. That means 4 people who were identifying with their higher self at that time. Everybody else was swimming in the 3D soup and simply surviving, going through everyday life, you know, getting food, warding off attackers, you know, or being drawn into kind of ways of life and belief systems. And those 4 points of light on their own managed to hold the planetary consciousness from dropping into a state where it could never be retrieved again. And at the moment, we've got literally, I'd even be comfortable saying, billions of people who are beginning to actualize their I am presence here on Earth now. The game is up. Okay, as far as holding planet Earth in 3D is concerned, it's not even. It's not. The actual concept of it seems so ridiculous to me when I speak about it, that I'm wondering what all the fuss is about sometimes, and I'm wondering if you sometimes, in moments of clarity, when you're feeling really good, when you're feeling really high vibe, when you've really got it all sussed, and you look at what's going on here on Earth from an elevated perspective, and you're wondering why there is actually so much struggle to move out of that state of consciousness. Well, a lot of us are feeling like that now. We are being very challenged by our surroundings. We're being very challenged by the people that are around us. We're being kind of invited, cajoled and coerced to be drawn back into this fear-based reality, the 3D matrix. And those of us who are anchored in the strength of our I am presence are now unshakable, and it's not even a discussion anymore. It's simply, that is not my reality. I will not engage with it. I will not contract with it energetically. But, and this is where it's going to get interesting, is that the wattage, as it is turned up, as the light comes in, as we prepare for the Lion's Gate, the wattage goes up, the light goes up. We increase the quantity of light that we take into our physical, mental, emotional and spiritual bodies. It shakes the matrix up that we're freeing ourselves from. Yet more shadows are revealed. Now, as these shadows are revealed, the old control systems, and you probably heard me speak about this in my last presentation I did, they are now pulling out every single stop, distraction, and attempt to contain what is occurring. So on a daily basis, we will be invited more and more often to contract energetically with that reality. And the most common way that I can see that being presented at the moment is the possibility of having our freedoms or our rights, and I say that, our sovereignty, impeded or removed if we don't participate with what they want us to participate with. Now, you've heard me cover this subject before. I believe that you will know automatically what I'm talking about. The whole medical thing that's going on, you must take this or you will not be able to do this. You might not be able to, you can't travel unless you do this. You might not be able to buy food unless you do this. There's a lot of this being rolled out, and it's beginning to saturate our media. It's actually becoming a reality in some countries. They are saying that you cannot enter this place without doing this. You cannot do that without doing as we say. This is a very powerful energy contract, okay? This is why it's being highlighted to me, particularly at the moment. This is one of the last attempts to get us as human beings to hand over our sovereignty, okay? Because and I do believe this is important. This might come across as like a little bit divisive, quite a strong thing to be talking about this morning, because it is such a divisive subject. Some people actually believe it's necessary, and I've spoken before about, if you are with all of your heart engaging with that and believe that you are doing the right thing, I've got absolutely no objections to that whatsoever, because it's a heart-based decision. You then take responsibility for whatever happens to your body and your progress from that point onwards. What I'm talking about very specifically is those of us that are no longer sat on the fence, people like me, people like you. We've already made our decision, but we're having our roots and our foundations shaken by the potential of not being able to engage or do simple things that we have the right as sovereign beings to do, such as enter a space, such as buy food, to have licenses to travel and all of those other things. So this is now part of our reality, okay? And I believe it is incredibly important to engage with that reality with strength, with self-honor, with discipline, with integrity, with courage, okay? You're going to need to dig deep. Say you're coming to the end. Again, I'll use running as the analogy. You're running a 10k race. You've got to 9 kilometers, and you are hurting. Your muscles are full of lactic acid. You've reached the point where your body is searching for oxygen, and you've got 1 kilometer left, and you got to dig in. We're kind of there at the moment. We're at kilometer 9. You could probably, if the track was straight, you'd be able to see the finish line. That is where we are. Kilometer 9 is where you got to dig the deepest. You've got to kind of go into your reserves. And of course, it's all part of a spiritual test. Everything that we undergo is a spiritual test. It's designed to see how far we have come and how unshakable we are within our foundations. And there'll be those of you listening to this that go, I am unshakable. There is absolutely nothing that will change how I live my life simply because I am being coerced or contracted to do so. But there's others of you, and I fully understand this as well, that are now going to have to potentially alter how you live because you don't want to cooperate with these coercive measures. And this is obviously, there's no sugary pill for this. There's no kind of way that we can say, oh well, this will come in and this will come in and just take all of this away. It's all part of the change. It's all part of our entire planet waking up and those that have agreed to do so stepping through the Ascension gateway because they no longer wish to participate with a reality that basically takes energy, controls energy, and for want of a better word, has been doing so for a long time. The energy patterns and the control that we see around us have been in place for a very, very long time, since the fall of Atlantis. And obviously, if you go back through my video archives, there's more information on this. Generations and generations of the souls that created the fall of Atlantis are still in their positions of power, and they're there, prominent. They've even stepped forwards into the light enough to be visible in our news feeds now. But there will be more upon that later. Right? That's something that I'm going to go on and get stuck into and deal with at a later date. But where we are now, exactly at this point in the transition, you will most likely be thinking about how you are going to navigate the next phase, because you are being presented with this contract. And that contract, if you break it all down, if you take away all of the other ingredients that are involved in it, you are being asked to contract with fear, okay? Now, this is probably a little bit kind of blunter than I usually am about it, but if someone says to you, you must do this, for whatever reason, you must do this. If you don't do this, then this will happen or that will happen. We will take this away from you. We will prevent you from doing this. That is a contract with fear. It's a contract with control. That is a third dimensional matrix attribute that has been very much part of the 3D party for a very, very long time. And immediately, we've then got to make a decision of whether we are prepared to actually stand in our sovereignty enough to change or even be subject to change in aspects of our lives in order to continue with our sovereignty, or whether we do actually say, well, hey, you know, I can't afford to lose that at the moment, or I don't want to lose that. That's it. And so here we are, and it's blaring at us from the news, it's blaring at us from the TV screens, it's billboards, it's social media, it's people that you listen to all around you. And it's not just that, there are other contracts, the energy contracts that we're engaging with, even right down to our own personal everyday life and how much we're taking on, how much we do as individuals, as light workers. Some of you might be feeling very tired, very drained, very depleted at the moment, because in order to retain your light, you have to be extremely disciplined not to get dragged into this at the moment. And I, hand on my heart, I fully understand that. The triggers are so abundant, they are so available to us. If you want to be triggered, it's so easy. If you want your survival instincts set off like a shark alarm, you don't have to go very far, and you don't have to look, or you don't have to try very hard in order to find that. It's actually being thrown into the Ascension soup, the soup that I was talking about, with the mixtures of reality. That soup separates, those realities begin to kind of part company and divide when we make solid, grounded, sovereign choices in order to basically engage with the reality that we are creating for ourselves. Now, many moons ago, long before all of this started, I was told that the actual process that you and we're all experiencing at the moment, would be finalised, and I use this is a bit of a 3D term, one, by the use of the laws of the land. Now, in the UK, we've got common law, okay? Now, common law is the original laws that were written in hundreds of years ago that supersede all of the other the diktats that are being kind of presented with us at the moment. What's really, really cool is that many people are now educating themselves on what their their actual rights or what they are contracting with, and what they actually have to do by common law. Now, common law is more in line with spiritual law, the universal laws. First, do no harm. Basically, if you look at the principles of common law, don't steal, don't hurt anyone, don't murder anyone, be a good person, live by your heart. That's all you that's basic you do. As long as you are engaging with your reality by doing no harm, adding goodness, adding love, adding light into whatever you are creating in your bubble around you, you're not stepping over any boundaries, any lines. Of course, there's many more spiritual laws if you kind of go back into the energetics of it. But one of the principles of being in our reality is that we operate with love, that we operate with kindness, compassion, kindness, humility, courage, if it's called upon us. And so that in actual fact, it's very simple. It's very simple. Where we're going is very simple. We cooperate with each other. We look after each other. We look after the planet. If people need help, we help. If we need to look after ourselves, we need to look after ourselves. We returning back to that state of naturalness, and that is very much part of the fifth dimensional Atlantean blueprint that is so prominent and is being projected or beaconed from our navel chakras at the moment. The call for that is so powerful. It's creating the changes, but the extraction and the kind of like the mixture of these two kind of energies or fields of consciousness together are very prominent, and they're very confusing for a lot of people. So I'm not saying do one thing or another, but what I'm saying is just be aware of what it is that you're contracting with. When you engage with something, when you make a decision for your own personal reality, what is the contract behind it? What energy are you agreeing to contract with? Are you agreeing to contract with fear, or are you agreeing to contract with love? Okay, now agreeing to contract with either of those energies is going to require some kind of change, okay? And because we are in a time of change. Do you go into the contract with fear, whereupon the majority of things that you do, think, say and engage with will be controlled very much by, even down to what you put in your body, will be controlled by a group of people who are very wealthy? Or do you contract with love, where we are probably going to have to start making some significant changes in how we live? Contracting with love means that we come together as a group and we start providing for ourselves at a higher level. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to completely disengage from the things that are around us. It just means we engage with them at the level of heart-centered consciousness rather than the fear consciousness. What's really interesting about this shift is that I've never seen this kind of... There's one of the disaster scenarios that's very common is that everybody, when societies kind of go through a collapse and a change, that everything gets blasted back to the Stone Age. One thing that I was shown really clearly is that's not the plan this time. The actual plan that I'm running with, and that many others of us are running with, is that we keep what's good around us, we keep what works, we keep what is functioning and serving and can be upgraded to a 5D level, and we just build on it. We don't need to lose the good stuff. We don't need to lose what works. What we do need to lose are the things that take without returning, that cause division, cause poverty, and you know, the rest of it's fairly obvious. So these energy contracts will be very much on the table for what we are playing with when the Lion's Gate opens a little bit later this month. And I will most certainly be looking at it in the various workshops that I'm going to be running. I'm also going to be on Monday, Diana Cooper and I are running the Zoom event working with the councils of Atlantis, which is going to be powerful. Those of us that are attending, we're going back to Atlantis, and we are going to be retrieving from the temples aspects that have been kept away for this moment in time. If you can join us, it will be fabulous. Tuesday morning, Mia Kafkios and I are coming together again for a Facebook Live. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the event that we're doing on the 27th, which is opening the Lions. We're kind of welcoming the light of the Lions Gate in and having a bit of a look at the energies, what's going on at the moment. All the details of what is coming up is in the text underneath this video. Now, if you can't see the text, then you might have to look for it. It might be because you're looking at it from your smartphone instead of on your computer or your tablet, but it is there. So the links to anything that is going on is in the text. So I know it's been kind of quite rambly this morning about what I'm talking about, but you will be every second of your day presented with the opportunity to which energy, which decisions, which aspects of reality are you going to contract with now. And these are so on the table for July and August. So what will you contract with? Is it fear, or is it heart-centeredness? Is it your love? So I'm going to go now. I'm going to go out and get myself some sunshine, because I'm hiding under this beautiful tree. So I'm going to get this video uploaded, go out and get some sunshine, and just wish you all the most beautiful weekend. Remember that, most importantly, it doesn't have to be fearful what we're doing at the moment. Once you're in that comfort zone, once you are resting within the light of your own heart center, none of that seems scary. Okay, I know a lot of you, and I really do feel you, are feeling really rattled by the choices that you are being presented with at the moment. Take it into your heart center. If you feel the fear, go into your heart. Don't lash out at people around you. You might be shouting at the heavens for guidance, for help, for information. That will come from your heart. Okay, every single time. Sit down, close your eyes, tune into the world around you on a 5D level. Let your heart make those decisions for you. Sending you all loads of love, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.